So Steph, before we begin, I don't know if you remember, but last week you said that you would figure out a little intro.
I did,
For
and
us.
I kind of did.
And?
I don't know if you'll be able to use it because I'm pretty sure that the like tune behind it is copyrighted for sure. Or I know that it exists. I didn't come up with the tune, but the words are ours.
All right, let me hear it.
Now I have stage fright. So I was sitting in the car the other day, and I was like, do, and I was like, ooh. Delving into the silver screen, Steph and Adrian, oh what a team.
All right, well, we have we have a different kind of episode this week, don't we?
We're doing shorts.
Yeah, this is your idea, and it's a
all
pretty
kinds of shorts.
unique.
Denim, corduroy, linen, cotton, polyester.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Thank you.
This is actually your idea. We talked about doing something different, and then you're like, hey, why don't we just scrub through like hours of shorts and we find a couple of good ones to talk about, and so that's what we're doing today. But first, we'll go through our weekly brief, and actually, this is starting with you because you actually found something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. It's not so much news as it is what would you call it, Adrian? It's more of a like call to action. So
okay, sure.
So for those of you that are listening before the 20th of April, there is a Kickstarter campaign for A Tale Told by an Idiot, and the tagline for it is Macbeth with Morons, Shakespeare's classic play reimagined as a digital series set in the video game startup world of Silicon Valley, or Silicon Valley. I'm not American. I don't know how to pronounce that. And it's actually it's kind of a web series style project, and it's adapting Macbeth into modern day, similar to the way that the lit web series has become a big thing on YouTube, or was a really big thing a few years ago with Lizzie Bennet Diaries, March Family Letters, Much Ado About Nothing, stuff like that. So one of the really cool things is that one of the pioneers, I guess, for the lit web series boom was the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, and the lead actress, Ashley Clements, is one of the producers on it. So it's kind of it's her and Brendan Bradley's brainchild, I guess.
Okay.
And they're crowdfunding so that they can bring it together. And they've just had to put in some stretch goals because they lost their editor because he got a full-time job working on a really cool project.
Okay,
so
sure.
they need to pay for post now, whereas before they were getting it kind of in kind. So, and it's this almost, from what I understand, it's a kind of The Office, Parks and Rec style. Yeah, it's really fun. It's a really cool project. So for those of you who don't know, Ashley Clements is from, like I said, Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So that was like 7 years ago that one was done, and it's still really big now. She's from Non-Transferable, Edgar Allan Poe's Murder Mystery, Dinner Party. She was a star in that. Sona, which is another digital series that she wrote, produced, starred in, and it's really fantastic. Brendan Bradley, he has been the director for Non-Transferable, which Ashley was in. He was also the lead in that. He also directed Sona and was a lead in that as well. But he's also from popular TV like Timeless, NCIS, Wizards of Waverly Place, for those Disney people out there.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
Shut up, I love Wizards of Waverly Place. But yeah, so the team is actually really talented. So they're not just kind of new to the game. They've actually been around for a really long time, and they've worked on projects together, and they always bring out some really good stuff. So if anybody is keen to help them out before the campaign ends, Adrian's going to do this because, let's be real, Adrian does all of the editing, and descriptions, but I've got a link attached and he'll put it in the description below if you wanted to go and help out those guys. They've got some really cool perks because obviously for Kickstarter, part of the way of getting funding is that people, you give perks.
Like tiers of perks and stuff.
Yeah. So you give like $5 and you get a digital poster. You give $25 maybe and you get a ringtone and the poster. So it kind of, it's always additional. So if you get the $5 tier, you get so much stuff. And then if you get like the $100 tier, you get the $5 tier as well as the $25 tier. Is, you know, like it's additional. It builds on itself. So, but yes, that's a really cool project. And if you guys wanted to check that out before it's finished, go over and do that. Anyway, back to the news.
Oh, okay.
Also, so, Adrian, there's so many points. You only get 3.
Well, that's why I just grabbed a whole bunch and then
Okay, cool. Oh, actually, Adrian. I don't know if you opened... I sent you a message the other day with a link to a Tumblr post, and I don't know if you opened it. Did you open it at all?
No, I didn't.
So I found out that James Gunn, you know, James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy, he wrote Scooby-Doo, the first live-action Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did too.
And it was essentially a massive fan fiction because he hated Scrappy-Doo so much that he wanted to write something where Scrappy-Doo was the villain and people would hate him.
Really?
Yeah.
He did it in spite.
Yeah, because he hates Scrappy-Doo. He thinks he's the worst character ever. And a lot of people actually really hate Scrappy-Doo because he was brought in to... He was brought in to create more views back in the, like, 60s or 70s or something.
70s or 70s.
Yeah. And then he was over-marketed and people just began to, like, incredibly dislike him because he was so in their face. But yeah, so Scooby-Doo, the first one, was a massive fan fiction that James Gunn got to produce, and now everybody hates Scrappy-Doo. Yeah, sorry. I just thought that was really funny.
That's a fun fact. Fun facts of the day. Steph's fun facts, everyone. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Probably more throughout.
I'm also super high on caffeine. Haha.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yep, sorry.
So our first movie announcement is something I don't know if you're particularly interested in. I mean, I don't think we've ever talked about.
Is this the Charlie's Angels one?
Yeah, Charlie's Angels.
Yes,
yeah,
love it.
So basically, the new Charlie's Angels reboot is coming out this year, and there've been some released photos that I think were only published for Entertainment Weekly or whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
And so this is an Elizabeth Banks directed film. You know, she directed the last 2 Pitch Perfect movies, I think.
Second. I don't think she did the third one. She was the producer on the third one, but she didn't direct it.
Okay. But no, so this actually stars Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott, and I don't know who Ella Balinska
I'm just looking her up now.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Because I knew who everybody else was.
The interesting thing about the photos that were released is that it seems that the Bosley character from the TV, so apparently Elizabeth Banks is actually playing Bosley.
There's like 3. I'm looking at the casting and there's actually 3 Bosleys.
Also Patrick Stewart is credited as playing Bosley.
That's weird. I wonder how they're going to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like she's probably just like Patrick Stewart is the real Bosley. She's like Bosley's daughter. Anyway, I only found this out the other day, but Universal is already amidst reshoots for their Dr. Dolittle movie, starring Robert Downey Jr.
I love Dr. Dolittle. Is it the same as the originals?
But apparently, it's following the book.
I didn't know Dr. Dolittle was a book.
Yeah, apparently it was originally a book way back when, and this one's more of an adaptation of that. So it's got a mammoth of a cast. So Robert Downey Jr. is playing the titular Doctor. And it's a live action CGI hybrid. And so like some of the cast members, I'll run them off. I think you can see the notes here.
Oh, well, you'd have to do a CGI hybrid because of the animals.
Yeah. So you've got Selena Gomez, Tom Holland, Emma Thompson, Ralph Fiennes, Michael Sheen, Antonio Banderas, Camille Nanjiani, Octavia Spencer, John Cena, Rami Malek, Craig Robertson, and Marianne Cotillard. So
okay. I'm just gonna stop you for a second. Okay, so first of all, it's Ray Fiennes. Secondly, it's Marianne Cotillard.
Ralph Fiennes.
In Marianne's last name, the 2 L's make a y sound, like a Y, like Spanish.
So how do you say it?
Cotillard.
Cotillard. Okay, sure. She's a pretty good actress. I like her.
She was really good in Inception.
Oh, she's also good in Macbeth. She's in that with Michael Fassbender. That's pretty good.
What? I didn't know she was in a version of Macbeth. Ooh, I'm going to have to go and watch that.
It's a beautiful looking film. It's pretty good. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is a pretty super big cast. And I think what I read was that all those guys mainly play like the animals. Like, do they voice the animals?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I think with a couple of exceptions.
I was going to say, how are they going to get all of these guys in the
yeah, no,
in the
they
series?
just no. So yeah, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Dolittle, I think that works pretty well. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know how much the original series copies the books, but at least in the first movies, he has Dr. Dolittle has a family. Like, he's got a wife and at least
are you
2
talking
daughters.
about the Eddie Murphy movies?
Yeah,
Yeah, those are actually pretty good. I like those.
I loved them. There was a 4th one that was just following his youngest daughter, and I was like, not a fan.
Oh yeah, no, actually, there's 4. There's the one, I think 3 and 4 are about like his daughter, like the younger daughter when she's growing up, and then I think the 4th one is when she's going to uni or something. Or
The 4th
college.
one, she like ends up on a farm or something.
Yeah,
I
that's right.
remember.
That's right. Yeah.
Wasn't a super big fan, but it was like
No.
it was a Disney original or something. Oh, it's called The Voyage of Dr.
Yeah,
Dolittle.
the Voyage of Dr. Dolittle, and yeah, someone compared it to the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka reboot, and so I'm a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that then, because that movie is notoriously horrible, for a lot of reasons, and so I'm a bit.
It's a lot creepier, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a bit precautious about kind of the vibe they're going to go with this. So hopefully they don't do that weird. Because okay, so I'll give you a quick fact. This is my fun fact for the day. The reason why that film was so weird with the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka was because that role was supposed to be with Michael Jackson. And
okay.
because so what happened was Michael Jackson was like, hey, he found out in the 90s or early 2000s that they wanted to do a Willy Wonka new movie. And he's like, hey, I want to be Willy Wonka. And they were like,
cool.
maybe not. He's like, okay, what if I help finance it? They're like, you can help finance it, but you can't be in it. And so apparently when they got Johnny Depp on board, they for some reason chose to have him do a Michael Jackson impression doing Willy Wonka. And that's why that Willy Wonka character was so weird.
Wow.
Because it's
that's
actually
kind of awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Turns out all of those people, none of them are part of the family. They are all voices. I've just double-checked.
They are all voices. Okay, cool.
All of them, yeah.
Maybe he's just riding solo for this one. He's on a boat by himself with a bunch of
Yeah, it
animals.
just says Dr. John Dolittle, and no, there are no other Dolittles in the list, so you can have the rest.
Okay, cool. So the next one is something I'm kind of excited about. So Alicia Vikander, is it Vikander, right?
Alicia.
You have to say it weird. Alicia Vikander. I can't pronounce anything. I'm tired. So Alicia Vikander returns as everyone's favorite Tomb Raider.
I'm excited.
MGM is looking for a 2020 release. And what was strange was that so last year's one, I think the year before, no, it's 2018. It didn't do like great. You know, like had a budget, like I said, well, I've got here a budget of 94 mil and it grossed around 274 million, which
And it didn't do well?
Well, like apparently that's like it's technically a profit, but to them it's commercially a flop. Where financially it's not, and so it's one of the things where like it technically made their money back, but it wasn't enough for them to try and like launch something. But I guess they're like, well, screw it, we'll just produce a sequel anyway. So they actually had a script written around the same time the first one got released, but they've hired a new writer to rewrite it. And they're trying to push that out because I think she has a contract with them and that they want to try and get some of these out before it expires.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, that's pretty cool. I did like the first one. I think it's better in some ways than the Jolie ones from the early 2000s, but
I think the Jolie ones were much more like they were much more video game style in the sense that I don't remember a lot of there being an important storyline. It was just kind of like, adventuring.
Yeah.
Whereas this one had a storyline.
Yeah, and I think Vikander's a higher class actor than Jolie anyway. Like I think she's way better. So the next one is
hang on. What I just wanted to make a note on Tomb Raider because I'm actually super happy that it did, at least for me, it did really well. Like that's actually quite a big profit, and I don't care what.
It's not actually a big profit, but it's
but like it's a lot of money. It's a
lot
of money.
Okay, yes and no. but for the industry, it's not. But technically, I guess it is.
But so I'm glad that there's a sequel because she's fucking great. She was so ripped. Anyway, moving on. I'm actually really excited about this next point.
Yeah, so this one is part of part of the next announcements we're going to be talking about are actually to do with Disney Plus stuff, and this one is one of the headlining show announcements for the new streaming service. So for some reason, I don't know specifically why, but Jeff Goldblum is getting his own docuseries on Disney Plus, and it's called The World According to Jeff Goldblum. So,
Yes.
So the showrunner described it as, I'll quote it here. Jeff pulls back the curtain on a seemingly familiar object to reveal a world of astonishing connections, fascinating science, and a whole lot of big ideas. So basically, straight away I thought, okay, it's basically Through the Wormhole's Morgan Freeman, but with crazy, weird, eccentric Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. You know what? I could listen to Jeff Goldblum describe anything to me.
He's an amazing guy. Like I love interviews with him. He's such a weird, unique character.
But also his inflections, just his voice and the
great.
way that he puts emphasis on different syllables is just great.
Well, I think he even said himself, he talks the way like he interprets how jazz plays, like music.
Oh,
I
agree.
He has like those rhythms and intricacies of like jazz, and that's kind of how he talks.
Yeah.
Which is really, really interesting. So he's a cool dude. So yeah,
Very
no,
cool.
I'm totally aboard with that. So that's pretty neat. And so we have some industry announcements. Okay, so there is one Netflix one. There's one related to something you've seen this week, and then there's some Disney stuff. So the Netflix one, we can probably cut it if it's not important, but I just want to mention it because we've mentioned it a few times how some industry leaders have been a bit upset with like Netflix's kind of, all online streaming approach and how it's not really considered whatever mainstream.
Okay. You're making it sound like there's heaps of them. The only ones we've noted so far are Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Like it's not a bunch of people. It's just Steven Spielberg.
It's just Steven Spielberg. Yeah, you're right. So what's going on is Netflix is making a bold push to purchase the iconic Egyptian theatre. You probably haven't heard of it. Not many people have, because everyone knows the famous Chinese theatre, which is like, the biggest.
Nope.
It's where like all the major. Okay, so the Chinese theatre is like the most prestige kind of venue in Hollywood. It's where like all the super major releases go, for like the premieres.
Right, cool.
And so the Egyptian theatre is like maybe a tier below that. So,
That's a high purchase then.
Yeah, so Netflix is trying to purchase that so they can host a lot more of their higher caliber films in cinemas, because they've gotten directors like Alfonso Cuarón and Scorsese creating content for them lately, and I guess they kind of want to have a platform to release their films traditionally, and so they kind of have it both ways, where they can be the kings of online streaming, but also they can have, like I said, a platform where they can just release content in cinemas whenever they want. And so I guess that kind of like appeases people. I say Spielberg.
Yeah, because you could see which ones do well on the actual platform and then air those.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Cinema.
Yeah, and I think that's the point.
Actually really clever.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool of them, and so props to them. Do it. Why not? So the last announcement news is something that's quite exciting, I suppose. So Disney Plus is set to launch this November with a monthly price of basically $7, which I think, from my memory of my own bank accounts, it's equal to that of Amazon Prime, which I think is $7 or $6 or $7.
Wait, how do you have Amazon Prime? We don't have Amazon Prime in Australia, do we?
Yes, yeah, we do. We've had it for like over a year. I've had it for like 8 months.
Okay.
You should get it. There's good stuff on there. Anyway, so
no, because I'm poor.
yeah, fair. That's right. Well, so the reason why they've done this is because Netflix lately, because they've been the king of streaming, they've had to jack up their prices over the past couple of years, and so Disney, because they don't really need the money, they've decided to lower their pricing to strictly to compete with Netflix, to drag a lot of their viewers away.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be like a titan battle between Netflix and Disney when that comes out.
Well, Netflix doesn't have any of the Disney shows on it, does it?
No,
that's all on Stan.
Yeah, it was all taken off Netflix and put on Stan, because apparently, Steph, we actually have US listeners now, so.
Yeah, that's so cool. Hi guys.
Yeah, so hello. So Stan is like the Australian Netflix Hulu, because we didn't get Hulu in Australia. That's an American thing.
Yeah, we
so
got. So it's kind of like Netflix before the Australians got it.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
What Stan
is
for us. No one else has it. It's an Australian run thing.
Well, yeah. So because America have Hulu, we have Stan. So Stan's basically that. And so
wait, don't we have Hulu too?
No, we can't get Hulu in Australia, I don't think.
I mean, not legally, anyway.
No. So all the Disney stuff was put in there. And so I guess all that will be taken off when Disney comes out. Anyway, I'll move on. So the reason why this is of note is because they've actually already announced the first year of content, like plan. And so it was in the first year they're going to have over 1,700 episodes. Oh no, sorry. 7,500 episodes of current and off-air TV shows from Disney and all the, I guess, Fox properties. They're going to have 25 original series, including the newly announced the Mandalorian, which is Star Wars, the WandaVision, Loki, all those Marvel, Falcon and Captain Winter Soldier stuff. They're going to have 10 original movies and over 400 movies from their library of, I guess now Disney, Fox, Marvel, whatever.
All of the stuff from the vault will go onto Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I've only just processed that. I'm very excited now.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
A lot of people have been excited. Shit. Yeah, no, so the Vault stuff is pretty exciting.
I was like, I don't need it. I have Netflix, but I forgot about all of the stuff in the Vault, like Hercules, Robin Hood,
because
Sleeping Beauty, all of the things.
I think while Stan has a small chunk of Disney stuff, obviously, everything that they own will go there. So I think they've already enticed a lot of people. And so I definitely think for a time Disney will overshadow Netflix until Netflix has to change the game. Competition is good. So Netflix has run it for a while, and I guess now Disney somehow the competition is good for the industry. I think there's still some stuff that you can
get on Netflix that you won't be able to get on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Disney Plus. Yeah. Like I actually really love Stranger Things, and that's a Netflix original. And I think the Disney stuff will stay on Stan because Stan is purely Australian. Like it probably won't renew once the rights run out. Maybe they won't renew. But
I think
are we even getting Disney Plus in Australia, or is it going to?
It's launching. Asia, America, and Europe simultaneously, and I think we count as Asia because we're Eurasia, aren't we?
Yeah, we're Australasia, yeah.
Australasia, yeah, sorry, Eurasia. What the hell am I talking about? I live in Australia, I should know that. And so, I think we do get off the bat, if probably not immediately, but within like a first maybe month or so. We'll move on now to our first looks. There's a couple of trailers, or three, that have come out that are a big deal to people. The first one is a movie of a franchise you have not seen. You know very little about.
I was like, the audience has definitely seen this.
Steph, sorry.
I've never seen it.
Steph has said...
Actually, you know what? That's a lie. I have seen one. I've seen one of the episodes, but I fell asleep. So
I was going to say, Steph has seen very little of very mainstream pop culture films and TV shows.
God, I now got a list of things that I need to watch.
We talked about last night. Steph was asking me for a list of stuff, so I sent her the IMDb top 250 films that she has to watch to go through. Anyway, so Star Wars Episode 9. It's got a teaser trailer at Star Wars Celebration, which is a really cool, basically Comic-Con just for Star Wars. And it's called The Rise of Skywalker. And so Steph hasn't seen really anything, so I want her quick opinion on the trailer because I want to know what you think.
So honestly, that was 2 minutes of a trailer I didn't really want to watch. So I was watching a reaction video to it yesterday.
Was that the crowd, people going crazy?
No. There's just one guy watching it in his room, and he was so overjoyed by it, and he was like weeping. He was actually so excited that he was crying and getting really excited. So I'm excited for the fans to be able to watch it and be excited by it.
Yeah.
But like it's not really something that I am super into. But also I hate space. So there's that.
Yes. Steph has a fear of deep sea and a fear of space. Probably heights.
Deep sea, deep space, can't handle
probably spiders.
No, I don't have a fear of spiders. I'm aware of shit. Okay, no, clowns are gross. I'm not afraid of clowns, but I don't like them. I'm okay with spiders. I'm also just aware that some of them are poisonous.
You probably
I am slightly claustrophobic, yeah. Like,
I think everybody is to some degree.
The idea of being buried alive is one of my greatest fears.
You probably wouldn't like that movie then.
Yeah. I had a panic attack during Aquaman because of the deep space. I've never seen Interstellar or Gravity because of deep sea. I've never seen Interstellar or Gravity because of deep space. I had issues with The Martian. Like, it was a big thing. Anyway, what I am interested in is...
Girl, you need therapy.
I don't need therapy. I'm aware of things that are very dangerous.
Yes.
Also, I have therapy. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm scared of driving. It took me till like basically almost 25 to get my license because I'm terrified of
and that's
cars.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But what I am interested in is that this is episode 9, and historically, the episodes come out in lots of 3, and then you wait for the next.
Yeah, actually, that's something I could.
So I wonder if they'll stop now until the next, I guess, Mantle mantle
Yes,
holder.
actually, yes, that's actually what I should have talked about. So, they've specifically set Celebration after this episode comes out.
See, I know things.
Yeah, you know things. There's going to be a long hiatus between the next episodic Star Wars films, and so what apparently Disney and Lucasfilm want to do is they're just going to have Disney Plus be the beholder of all new Star Wars content. So like that Mandalorian is a new Star Wars show. They're going to have some other offshoots, and they've got some other films in the works.
Kind of like the Wookiee series.
Yeah, stuff like that. So you won't see an episodic like 10, 11, 12 for probably 5, 6 years, or maybe 10.
Okay.
So yeah.
What was the gap between the last lot?
So I remember. So the original trilogy, there was almost
It was
two
like the
decades.
80s.
There was like the last one was 83. Then you had the new one started at 99. So it's quite a big gap there. And then you had 2005 to 2015. So
it's about 10. Okay.
Yeah. So I think a 10-year gap is probably good, especially with how episode 8 pissed off a lot of people. So I think they should give it a rest. And this next one I'm not a Disney guy, so maybe you could probably.
You have, for not a Disney guy, you've got so much Disney news.
Well, it's because like it kind of like that's kind of taken over everything lately.
That's true.
But yeah, so we did see a teaser, I think, beginning or end of last year. And now we have the full length trailer for the Disney's live action air quotes.
The Lion King.
Lion King.
It had such potential, and I'm actually really disappointed.
Yeah. Well, something I thought you would have commented on straight away is the fact that remember how
Mowgli? Are you talking about Mowgli?
Yeah. I was gonna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Steph and I we mentioned before we did like a demo kind of podcast about the Mowgli Superman Tarzan movie. And Steph and I had a big problem with it.
Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle.
Yeah. Steph and I had a big problem with that movie because the animation for the animals' eyes were like they had mocapped human.
They were human eyes rather than animal eyes.
And it was very unsettling. Was this film, it looks like they're just gone full realistic animals. Like they have...
Yes, that's actually... Because I have seen all of the issues that people are having with it on Tumblr before I saw the trailer, which I only saw like 20 minutes ago. And they tried to go hyper realistic with the Lion King.
Yeah.
But there's very little movement in the face, which makes it really hard to see.
Yeah.
I
think you're right.
Emotions, which is difficult. But in saying that, I wonder if that's just the way it has been cut, and the way the clips that we see are only the ones where there's no emotion. Because
I think
there's a brief moment of Rafiki. And he's actually got really good expression.
Is he the monkey?
But yes.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah, Rafiki is Yeah. Mufasa. Anyway, and I'm pretty sure the Mufasa character is the same voice as the original.
Yeah. James Earl Jones, same dude.
Yeah, so I have issues with that because if you're going to do a live action one of animals, there needs to be some form of movement in the face. And somebody made a point that because it's trying to be more hyper realistic, animals don't have expressions like that. But then someone else pointed out that in is it Rise of the Guardians with the owls?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
No, not Rise of the Guardians.
Legend of the Guardians is the owls.
That's the owl.
Rise of the Guardians is the Nick Frost
Sandman one. Yeah, Nick Frost.
Yes. Sorry. Legend of the Guardians. They're owls, and they've actually got some really good micro expressions. So I'm hoping that it's just that the trailer hasn't shown the best pieces.
Okay, so the last one is a quick one. MGM had, I think it was last week, MGM showcased the Addams Family teaser trailer, which is animated, 3D animated. And what's interesting is that it's a fact, that it's, I said apparently.
Apparently, that's a lie.
A genuine fact is that its aesthetic is of the original comic from the 30s or whatever it was. And so if you look at the characters, the proportions are all weird and strange, and it's because it's based off the actual drawings.
See, I always remember the characters always looking like that.
Yeah.
So some people have been really upset by the look of Gomez, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
It's exactly what he is. Like he's this like kind of Mexican voice-ish character that's kind of short and round, and he has this goddess, tall, slender wife that you're like, you two don't go together.
Who
How?
played in the 90s movie? Was it Cher that played the wife?
No,
it wasn't
Angelica
Cher?
Houston.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, okay, right, that makes sense. Right.
Angelica Houston is from The Witches.
Oh, okay. Why did I think it was Cher?
And-
Maybe I'm just thinking Cher
Because
when she
they're
had the
very
dark
similar.
hair
I think they're
and-
very
yeah, okay.
similar in aesthetic.
Yeah, right.
I like the look of it. I'm not a super fan. This particular
Yeah,
trailer. I'm excited about the film. I'm not particularly enjoying the voice of the mother, who I think is Charlize Theron.
Oh no, the mother is. I think it's Audrey Plaza. I think that's the
mother?
yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, Oscar
Yeah, I'm
Isaac.
gonna Google that.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac is the dad. I think Audrey Plaza is the. Or she could be
Adam
playing
Sandler.
the daughter. I'm not sure. Have a look.
No, Chloe Moretz. No.
No, Chloe Grace Moretz is the daughter. So I think Audrey Plaza is the.
No. Audrey
No?
Plaza's not even in it.
I thought it was Audrey Plaza.
Charlize Theron is Morticia.
Right.
Chloe Grace Moretz is Wednesday. Oscar Isaacs is Gomez. Finn
Yeah.
Wolfhard.
Oh, Finn Wolfhard. Game of
from-
Thrones. Yeah, sorry, he's the Stranger Things kid.
What? No.
Stranger Things kid.
Yeah, sorry. You said Game of
Yeah,
Thrones
I
first.
said Game of
was
Thrones
like,
first,
No. He's Pugsley. Alison Janey is Margot Nedler.
Why did I think Audrey
see if-
Plaza? Oh no, she's in The Secret Life of Pets because that trailer also came out and I watched them straight after each
Okay.
other.
Yeah, no.
Never mind, she's in that.
Yeah. And I love Charlize Theron, but she's just not really a Morticia character. And I think that's simply maybe because I have that
Yeah.
that share, that
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I've just said her name.
Uh,
Angelica Houston,
Angelica
like
Houston.
that kind of gruff sounding voice, that like dark kind of sadistic, whereas Charlize Theron doesn't really have a dark sadistic voice.
well, she did in Monster, I think, didn't she? She did pretty good in that.
I've actually never seen Monster.
It's pretty good. I think she got nominated for it, didn't win. But I think the animation studio is the same who did Frankenweenie or something.
Yeah, I was going to say,
think
it's super similar.
it looks very, very similar. Yeah, but from what the trailer showed, it looks just pretty generic and plain and not really interesting. It's kind of disappointing because it looks like they're just, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to be anything.
Yeah, there wasn't really a storyline that
Nah.
showed in the
No, it was just, I think they moved into
trailer.
the house and the house was haunted and then just
yeah.
things
Wait, was it the
ensued.
actual trailer or is it just a teaser? Because a teaser
No,
makes sense if it's
No. It's like it's a trailer. Yeah, it's like a minute and a half.
It doesn't. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but it looks like it's them moving into a new house. So potentially the storyline is them.
I don't see this
accepted
doing
into
very
the-
well at all. I don't think it will do well. If
I'm
honest.
absolutely going to watch it though.
Steph and I spent a lot of time going through short films on the web, finding
Yeah.
two each that we felt were
Okay, guys, I tried to make it 3, but Adrian demanded 4.
well, yeah, well, I mean, I wanted 4. I felt it's an even spread if we get 4 distinctly different short
Yeah,
films.
but
that
I was
you're talking
thinking
about.
like one for me, one for you, and one that we agree on. You know, but that's
One,
fine.
no, but one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. You know,
Yeah, what I
Equality,
really love so
Stephanie,
far. Yeah, okay, fine. Which is a nice segue, but I'm not going to use
Hey.
it because what I really
Yeah.
love is that the choices that we have are very
Mm.
indicative of the styles of films and the subject matter that we enjoy.
Oh, hey, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about
Like
that.
it's I was just like the things that you had on the list of stuff that you liked and maybe wanted to do and the list of things that I had and wanted to do. I was like, yeah, okay, this is very interesting.
So, well, yeah, you should have taken my segue that I had for your setup for your first.
Well, you can
Sure.
just cut. No. So this is where you cut out my piece about
Oh, okay.
the knowledge,
All
and
right.
then you put the segue afterwards, like you mentioning equality at the end.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Seth, why don't you take us through your first pick for your short film?
Anyway, it's entry level, but your resume was by far the strongest. I'm sure you'll fit right in.
Thanks. I still think it's unbelievable that I'm really here.
Unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
So my first pick is actually a 2019 short film by Pixar Shorts called Pearl, P-U-R-L. And it's directed by Kristen Lester and produced by Gillian Libet Duncan. Features an earnest ball of yarn named Pearl knit one, pearl two.
Oh my god.
Who gets a job in a fast-paced, high-energy, bro-tastic startup. Yanni hijinks ensue as she tries to fit in. But how far is she willing to go to get the acceptance she yearns for? And in the end, is it worth it?
Oh my god. Did you write those puns? Was that you? Did you do that?
No. That's I just copied
okay.
the description. That's how they sell it on.
It just seemed like something that you would
IMDb.
do. It seemed like a very
It
Steph thing.
does, doesn't it? No.
Yeah.
It's just something that they put together on their YouTube channel. So what the segue? It's about gender equality. Ta-da!
Yay!
I actually really loved this clip, particularly it's an
Very cute.
animation.
Mm-hmm.
What I really loved about it is the idea that instead of it being male, female, it's male and a ball of yarn. So the bafflement and the confusion that comes with the men being like, why is there a ball of yarn working at us, working in our office, is almost identical to some of the looks and behaviors that women would face in an industry like that. Like this almost like they're a foreign object. So I really loved that they used a ball of yarn instead of a woman to make it kind of obscure and a little bit abstract. And the fact that it's a ball of yarn and not any other type of object is really cool because as a ball of yarn, you can make just about anything. So she literally, in that clip, she knits herself into something totally different to the way that she starts in order to make herself fit in. So instead of being a ball of yarn, she turns herself into this flat object that's very square. So fits into a box, literally square like a box, and is wearing a black suit similar to the other men or the men in the office. And so she's not accepted to begin with because she has some like yarny hijinks and is really different to the mold. But then she changes herself and she becomes she assimilates herself and she makes herself fit. She changes everything about her to be able to fit in. And that's essentially what women do, if not in a male-dominated industry. Also, just sometimes when you're in high school or if you're hanging out with friends, sometimes you take on different personalities to make yourself fit in. So the ball of yarn and the ball of yarn literally changing itself to do that is really interesting. The music actually from this Pixar short is done by Pinar Toprak, who did the score and music for Captain Marvel. So what's really cool is that she's obviously very big on women empowerment. So those are the pieces that she works on. So I'm going to be looking for Pinar Toprak on IMDb and maybe watch a couple of the other things that she's done because it seems like she's got a bit of a theme. I also really love that it's only 9 minutes long. One, I have a short attention span, but two, you don't need a super long story, a long time to tell a story.
Well, yeah, because this like tells a complete narrative in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, so she comes in, she's out of place, she changes herself. Another ball of yarn comes in called Lacey. Ha 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 ha, Lacey. And I love that we don't then see several other scenes of Pearl ignoring Lacey and being one of the bros. And kind of going second guessing herself and being like, should I have done this? Why did I treat her like that? It's a very clear decision. She's been accepted. Lacey shows up and she has this brief moment of going, oh, actually, she looks really uncomfortable. I felt really uncomfortable when I started and I have changed myself to fit in, but I don't want her to have to do that and I want to make her feel welcome. So she leaves the elevator, gets her and brings her back. And we don't need like 7 more minutes of this back and forth. So I think that's a really important like writing.
Yeah, no, it's really straightforward.
You don't actually,
you
don't actually need all of that time to do this back and forth. You can just have a character take a moment and make that decision.
Make a decision, yeah. Okay.
And then I also appreciated the jump in time. So the minute Pearl accepts Lacey into the elevator, into the fold, into the box, the new box that's forming, there's then a jump in time where she becomes the person welcoming a new man into the office. And when the doors open, in comparison to her being shown an office full of grey and black and men, the office opens up into men and colour and fun, and there's different colours of yarn who are obviously all the women. So there's like yellow and pink and blue and green and blah, 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 blah. to show that just that initial step of Pearl accepting Lacey for who she is and who they are creates a catalyst, and over time you'll open the door and be more accepting to diversity. And so I loved that was a jump in time. We just needed this, I accept her for who she is and she doesn't have to change. Jump to Pearl herself, again, not stitched into a cube and flat and square and one dimension. Oh my God, I've just processed that her being flat means that she's one dimensional.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I just want to quickly comment.
And then so that was really cool. I liked that jump.
I wanted to comment when she like stitched herself up to being, with like the suit essentially, right? Did you ever get, because I thought straight away she looked like Gumby. Like the way she was shaped.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I never thought of that. But she totally does.
Yeah, straight away I was like...
She's Gumby's like cut off younger cousin or something. Yeah. Because she obviously wasn't as tall.
No, I wanted to mention, because you did talk about how it's like the company's called Bro Capital, right? Which is a very...
Yes. No. It's BRO.
Oh, BRO Capital.
They never call it Bro Capital. They just call it BRO, Capital. Which I think is great.
And I kind of find it really interesting that you picked this one specifically, because I am a big fan of Billions, which is a show.
It was the first one I found.
Yeah, well, it's cool because I watch Billions a lot, and Billions is basically about hedge funds, and that is what that particular short is about. And so basically the idea that hedge fund firms are male dominant and aggressively competitive is a very poignant thing, because that's what the show deals with a lot. And that's what this short also was talking about. And so in Billions, it's very clear that women involved in that particular industry have to demonstrate a level of like alpha dog tendencies to be taken seriously. Like, not because femininity is considered a weakness, but it's overly sexualized.
I mean, sometimes it is considered a weakness, though, because women are overly emotional, or women get too invested. Men can be more cutthroat and stuff like that. So sometimes it is.
Well, yeah,
but,
okay.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. And so then, and so I guess what Billions kind of has a lot with their female, like core female characters, even supporting cast, is that the women have to become part of that bro mentality to avoid that specific idealism. And so I really do appreciate that, like, you found a short that was very much relatable to like a show that I very much invested in, and it kind of made me think about Billions in a different way. How I'm like, oh yeah, the women have to kind of twist themselves to become like to fit in, otherwise they're kind of like subjected and it's very uncomfortable and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
You have to put on a new skin, and I get that sometimes you have to do that, because working in certain industries, it's easier to put on another skin to protect yourself, to fit in, to do all of these things.
Yeah.
So it's actually really exhausting.
Yeah.
To do that.
And one, I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's like, I do really appreciate the fact that Pearl literally twists herself into knots while trying to, fit in and find a place within the company at the beginning. Like, she's trying to follow them, and she accidentally like knots her leg and kind of, all that stuff. So it's a basic but solid symbolism for the effort struggle she goes through to try and, make her own place. So I really do like that.
I'll just point out that, guys, that's actually a moment in the clip about a third of the way in, maybe.
Yeah.
She's just started in the office, and she's walking over to the group of guys, and she wants to try and fit in. And she trips, and her leg, because she's a ball of yarn, is just a piece of string, so it ends up twisted into a knot.
Yeah.
Like, she's rolled her ankle, but like knotted herself.
I do like that. And I wanted to, so I had a point about the animation, but I kind of just dropped that because it's not really anything to talk about. But I had a question for you, maybe, is I've noted that, like, do you think that, because we talked about how like your nieces and nephews, like, they're more of this type of animation and cartoons, right? So would they...
Yeah, that's true.
Would they properly like understand and comprehend the like equality message that this short promotes?
Yeah, I read this before, because we now share one document, and I can see Adrian's notes and he can see my notes.
Cheat!
That's actually a really good point. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know that people of my age would get it, because it's something 100%. That's very prevalent to us, is that gender equality is a big thing right now. I think my niece would get it, because my sister is very big on showing Samara when something is actually really cool that a female gets to do that, and Tash is really big on empowering her girls, as well as letting her boys be soft, and trying not to fall into those gender stereotypes. So I think Samara would, but I don't know if any of her other friends would. I think they would just. I wonder if it's more one of those stories that a kid sees and subconsciously understands rather than
Oh, sure. Like it kind of like
consciously.
sometime later in life, maybe it just
Yeah.
registers or
Like,
something.
sometimes you see something as a child, and when you look back as an adult, you're like, oh, actually, no, I did. When I did watch that, I knew that was, a bad thing, or that was.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Excuse me, or that was a male versus female, or a good versus evil. It's something you subconsciously take on rather than something that you bring to the forefront of your mind and go, oh, I don't know why Pearl isn't allowed there. Oh, I wonder if this is what it's like for all girls.
All right, Steph, do you want to take us on to your second pick, or do you want to?
Actually, we'll do one of yours. We'll jump down. We'll do one of yours, and then we'll come back.
All right, cool.
Flight, we are a go for FTL burn. It's now or never.
Godspeed, Commander. See you on the other side.
Come on, Flight, let's hear it. You can do it.
Fine. Make it so, Commander.
One of the very first short films I encountered when we decided to do this was one called FTL. It's from a couple of years ago, from 2017, I believe. And obviously, it's funny, you apparently thought FTL meant for failure to launch.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what FTL meant. And I was like, FTL, failure to launch. Oh my God, something's going to blow up. This is going to be horrible.
No, so
the whole
was wrong.
thing, that's what I was waiting for.
But no, it stands for Faster Than Light Travel, or Faster Than Light. And so basically this short is a part of Dust, which is a network production company that produces and distributes content for emerging filmmakers. So the channel and website is all science fiction related, and they cover a plethora of topics, themes, and concepts familiar with this specific genre. So if you check in their YouTube channel, they have close to probably 100 of these shorts, and they're all like top-notch quality. Actually, one of them more
recent. So are they shorts that are submitted by everyone, or have they got a specific production team?
So basically, someone submits or they buy the rights to the script, and then they produce and make it themselves. So cool. Yeah, it's all in-house stuff. And actually, one of the more recent shorts called Prospect was actually so they paired up with another indie production company, and then they made a feature-length film with Pedro Pascal. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But anyway, so this one, FTL, it was directed by Jamie Allen, who's a veteran short filmmaker who's been doing these type of things since 2004, which is a long time to be making short films. So he clearly knows what he's doing. He's also a career editor that has worked on shows, recently, like Dirk Gently, which is one of my all-time favorites, science fiction kind of thriller shows, and Continuum, which is something I think you watched or liked.
It's on my list.
Yeah,
it's definitely in the vein of stuff that I would watch, but I haven't got to it yet.
And obviously there's only a couple of actors, but the main one of note is Ty Olsson, who, I most know him for his role.
Is he the captain?
Yeah, he's the pilot.
Yeah.
So I know him more as Captain Aaron Kelly from Battlestar Galactica. But he has been a series regular on like Supernatural, Continuum, and even the 100. And so basically the premise of this is about mankind's first attempt or test of an FTL drive. And Ty Olsson is the astronaut piloting the mission, and basically he has to take the long shot, which is the shuttle, and go to Mars and come back for the test.
It's all like in a day.
It takes place actually in a day because, I think you have a note about a time difference near the end.
But the idea is that he would go to Mars and come back in a day.
At the gate, it's an exceptional short film. I think we can both agree. Visually, it's a spectacle.
It's really well done.
It's amazing. I remember I watched it with Carly, and straight away she was like, "Is this an animation, like a CG, like a?" I'm like, "No, this is like a live action thing." And so because without knowing anything about Dust prior to discovering the short, I was pretty blown away by the production value of FTL. Like it's just
agreed.
It's insane. So it clearly has the aesthetic and feel of an industry feature. Like straight away, just everything about it, the way it was directed and written, digital effects to its the sound editing, the visual editing is a key thing that like very much sets it apart of like typical kind of short film stuff. Where I think the sound design
it flows really nicely.
Oh yeah, very much, yeah. And I've noted here it's pretty remarkable considering they only shot it over 3 days and post was barely 3 months. So it was such a quick turnaround to make this. And apparently because while watching it, I was like, oh man, this would be an amazing, like a proper feature, like idea concept for a film, like an Interstellar kind of inspired. And the director, Jamie, has said they've already written a script for a feature, but they're still trying to work out the kinks of financing and planning. but he very much doesn't.
Right. So like the short is a kind of proof of concept.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
short.
Yeah, because apparently a lot of what this stuff are on Dust that are proof of concept stuff that they do try to sell to bigger production companies and stuff.
Oh,
So
okay. Cool.
yeah, it's pretty neat. And yeah, no, I just want to mention, so like the long shot itself, the shuttle, and all the general technological designs are very, I feel like they're very much inspired by like Interstellar and The Martian, films you haven't seen.
I've seen The Martian.
Oh, you've seen The Martian? Okay,
Interstellar.
yeah. Well, even like The Expanse, which is a really good sci-fi TV show. So like it very much, it seems to be, the kind of, it's based around that. And I was thinking it's very easy to imagine it takes place in those universes. And yeah, and I want to mention, actually, this is a sciencey thing, but it's I really wanted to appreciate the means of how the ship actually jumps into FDL. So it's actually based on the theoretical I've got to pronounce it right,
That's right, I can't pronounce it either.
it's Alcubierre drive, or the Alcubierre. It's based around like the name of like a Mexican scientist who founded the theory. So it's a real life speculative physics equation for faster than light travel. So so it actually has some pretty good contemporary science behind it.
I always love sci-fi that's like that, when there's actually like some form of science or proper physics work behind it, and it's not just
well that's one of the things about
essentially fantasy.
Well, that's why I think you might like Interstellar, because that is pretty much like mainly built around real science and speculative physics.
Yeah, but space.
But space.
We'll see. I might start it and we'll see how I go.
We haven't really talked about any of these shorts together. So I wanted to mention, I was expecting his character. So basically what happens is, on the return test so he gets to Mars fine, and on the return to Earth, there's a malfunction with the ship, and then he's just shot somewhere into space. So you don't even know. Something happens. I was immediately suspecting he was either going to be misplaced in time or space when the ship malfunctioned. And it would have been really cool if he ended up either far flung in the future or the past, similar to kind of like how the character from the Forever War is in the books, or even the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah. Because his ship disappears, but he also disintegrates, doesn't he?
Well, that's later, yeah. And because he actually...
Oh, I thought it was at the same time.
Because he actually ends up probably either somewhere else in the galaxy or the universe, because he comes across... Well, he basically ends up on the doorstep of like some massive intergalactic alien spaceship or something.
That's right. He jumps again. And Yeah.
And I wanted to mention that the alien that he encounters, like the structure, it kind of looks like a Dyson sphere. Which I don't know if you know what that is, but basically a Dyson...
I don't, but I read it and I was like the vacuum?
Yeah, so yeah. It's...
I was like, how well do you know the Dyson vacuum?
It's a Spaceball reference there. But basically, a Dyson sphere is another theoretical kind of thing where like you can build a structure around a star that could harness its raw energy. Theoretically, you could like untap resources to kind of... and so that's what that looked like, because when he gets there, you see this very picturesque, very beautiful shot of like his tiny shuttle compared to like this massive formation of structure, and then you see a star in the middle. So I thought they're either creating a planet or a star, or it's more along the lines of a Dyson sphere, which would make more sense.
Which if it's okay if I just jump in.
No, go for it.
That's actually a really interesting point, that we're shown how little he is in comparison, because at the very beginning, his ship is made to look quite big and like all-consuming, because it takes up the whole shot. So jumping from him, this small person inside of this very intricate large ship, or large-ish ship, to then our version of a large ship in comparison to the Space's version of large is really like a nice contrast.
Yeah, he's kind of like dwarfed by it. Like it's a mammoth of a thing. And because I think you said you liked it, but the digital effect of his like matter deconstruction or disintegration or whatever, I thought that was kind of a departure from like the crisp looking CGI.
Really, I actually liked his deterioration.
No, like to me, it looked more like an After Effects plugin than anything that was like properly rendered. So I was like, that's a bit funny. So I had kind of Matrix Tron Legacy flashbacks when I saw that. I was like, that's not right. So basically it goes back to like the people in the control room, and they're like, oh my God, he's dead. Oh, what do we do? And the aliens, those two little crystal things, they basically come out of a wormhole, and they... And these aliens return the astronaut back to his family, and he's like, oh my God, I'm home. And well, it's fine. Like I kind of felt like it was probably the safest ending to that story. Like I kind of was expecting...
No, it's not. Did you see his face shimmer?
No, I didn't see any shimmer because I was just.
Yeah, he's been affected.
I was just-
His face shimmers when he's hugging
does he?
his wife, as if to imply that like something has happened to his body.
because I was about to say like I was expecting some kind of Shyamalan twist to be revealed. Like either Olsen thought he returned home, but instead it was like some kind of simulation, or it was like one of the aliens took his form, or like.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, no, something is wrong because he does shimmer, as if just
like in
like
the
either
eyes? In the
his
eyes?
genetics. No, his skin. So his forehead over on that like left side of his face, from about his temple down to his cheek, it shimmers as if like his genetics been changed, or maybe his fake alien skin is
Because
is faltering. I
would imagine if this was a feature, they would probably go to the line of like he has the mind of the guy, but his body is like a recreation. Because maybe when the aliens like basically disintegrated him, like that technically kills you, like you're technically dead when that happens, and so they basically maybe reanimate his conscious in like a body, and then that's what they use to bring him back. So anyway, but
well, to be fair, they actually didn't just disintegrate him, because it took 2 to take him down, and took 2 to put him back on Earth, which means all of his molecules for 21 hours were separated.
Yeah, okay.
He was in two separate like little.
Oh no, he was. That's right.
Crystal
it was 2 of
thingies.
them. But no, it's a really good short film, and I think I'm definitely going to over probably the next week or so, start shifting through these Dust sci-fi originals.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I think it's Dust that has also like the iMom as well.
Oh yeah, iMom. Yeah, that was them.
Which is actually an Australian one, which is why I was curious as to whether they were submitted by other people.
Yeah, because
iMom was pretty good too.
Because on that we had a list. Steph made a spreadsheet on Google Drive, and iMom was one of her lists.
All about that organization.
That was one of yours that you mentioned.
I really liked this piece. I thought the graphics were really good in the opening scene, and I liked the spaceship and the crystal things. They were really cool.
And so, with this being in a space short, like, how did you cope with your phobia of, how did you deal with that? Because there are some really big sweeping.
Actually, I did really well. So I think it's because I didn't really see a lot of the galaxy in the background.
Yeah.
So there was not a lot of like wide shots of the galaxy. They're more close-ups and stuff of the internal of the spaceship and the space station and the house that the wife is in. So I think that's probably what does it. It's the idea that when you look out, there's this teeny tiny person connected to this teeny tiny tube in this massive space. Yeah, so that's what does me in, is the vastness of stuff, and you didn't really get the idea that there's a vastness of stuff in the short. So I could tolerate it. It was fine. And it was good for 14 minutes. I think most of it wasn't a complete story.
No, it wasn't.
14 minutes. It was more like a
proof of concept, like you said. It's more of a tech demo. Yeah. I think it's more of a tech demo kind of really than anything. So,
yes. Yeah.
Now I want to hear you talk about this. Your second pick. It's a horror short.
I'm not usually into horror, but I've been getting more and more into it over time.
Ignore this rule, and you'll start losing it. Really losing it.
The next one that we have is The Doll Maker from 2017, and it was published on Alta, the YouTube channel called Alta, which is a horror-based channel, similarly to the way Dust is.
Okay.
But they publish twice a week, and people submit their shorts.
Okay.
Which is why I asked if Dust did the same thing, because people submit their shorts and essentially give Alta permission to publish to their channel.
Mm-hmm.
So it was directed by Al Loffa, I don't know, written by Mateus Caruso. And the story is about a grieving mother who latches onto a magical surrogate of her lost child, but small miracles come with big consequences. So it's a very ambiguous description. The gist of it is that at the opening shot is the mother is buying a doll.
Well, no, the opening shot. Opening shot is the boy in the casket. That's the opening shot.
Yeah. But the opening sequence is essentially that this mother is buying this doll because her son has died, and the doll is magical, or is supposed to be magical, and will look like her boy. So she buys this doll. She's skeptical, and the doll maker, hence the name of the is like, just hold his hand. If you don't like it, we'll you don't have to pay me. Holds his hand, and the doll turns into her son.
Yeah.
The father is super skeptical. He holds the son and actually gets creeped out by the
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
that
because
it
he
then turns
he
into the son.
touches, because he sees his wife holding a doll,
doll.
and then he touches the hand, and then it like becomes his son. He's like,
The boy looks at him with very daunting music.
Yeah.
It's creepy and it's so good.
Yeah.
And then so he's like, no. And the mother's like, we can't, we need to. And there's very specific rules that it's only one turn of the hourglass that you can spend with the doll.
Per
and then
day.
it has to go back in the box.
Yeah, for a day, right?
Then it has to go back in the box for a day. Otherwise, it becomes this addiction. Like you'll forget that the original son died. You'll forget that it's a doll. It'll become more and more kind of possessive of your time. But what's really interesting about that particular sequence when the doll maker is describing in a very creepy voice the issues with not following those rules, you see in the hourglass the reflections of time passing, of the mother.
Oh yeah.
What you assume to be is the potential of the mother falling into this pit hole of not, forgetting that her son is dead, of becoming upset when her husband doesn't treat her son or their son the way that he should, when the husband tries to take the doll away. Like you see clips, snippets of what the implications could be.
Yep.
So what I loved is that the twist of this film is actually that those clips weren't theoretical. They are actually what is happening, because the doll maker describing what the repercussions could be is actually describing what the repercussions
are going to be.
Are being. Because the mother, the mother did do all of those things, and she has experienced all of those things because she didn't listen to the rules, and she breaks the hourglass and is done. And the twist at the end is that the husband becomes so frustrated and just tired and is like, I needed you to be here with me to grieve together, and you weren't able to do that. And so now it's time to see the truth. And he drags her outside, because part of the rule is that you can't take the doll outside because the magic isn't outside.
Yeah, because the spirit of the kid only lives in the house, so the doll only works with his
with his spirit. So you take the doll outside of the house and it looks just like a doll. So the mother never left the house. And so the husband is like, no, this is too much. You need to see what's happening. And so he drags her outside to show her that the boy is actually a doll. And it's revealed that the wife is also a doll because she broke the rules, or she didn't follow the instructions. And she went crazy, and
she killed herself.
He tried to hide the doll and then she killed herself. And so his grief led to him buying a doll of his wife. And so that doll came with the little boy doll because they needed something of theirs that they loved dearly. And she loved the doll. By the end of it, she was obsessed with the doll. So what intrigues me about this is the husband now doomed to forever get angry at his wife about the doll and then reveal to himself
essentially,
she's a doll over and over again.
Yeah.
Because he forgot that she died. So he had spent so much time with her that he'd forgotten all of those things, and still knew that the boy was the doll, but not that she was the doll. So he's going to be stuck in this forever loop because he was so overwhelmed that she was a doll and he'd forgotten that she died that he took it back inside and was like, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. But surely that's not the first time that's happened. Surely, there gets a point where he becomes frustrated with the doll wife for spending too much time with the boy doll.
No, I think you're right, because the end shot it pans over to a bunch of broken hourglasses.
There's 3 or something.
So I think you're right. This has happened to him before, where he's completely just forgotten everything.
Yeah.
Because also in that.
Yeah. And
no, you go.
Oh no, I'm just curious as to how no one else noticed that they hadn't left the house and that.
Well, because
they're dolls.
There's a shot of their kitchen, and they've clearly been there for, say, maybe a month or something, where they've just been in there.
Oh, that's true, because you assume that the dishes aren't washed because the wife hasn't done them.
The wife ain't in the kitchen.
The husband hasn't done them because he's expecting the wife to do them, but she's a doll.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's just, I love it. The twist is amazing, and there's so much more in depth when you think about it. But what I loved is when I was researching this particular clip, this short, on IMDb, somebody made a post or a comment or a review that stated that it's very similar in structure to the old school fairy tales, where there's the desperate protagonist, which is the mother and then the husband, and the antagonist, which is a witch-style character in the doll maker. And it's all meant to tell you something and teach you a lesson, and that's what it really hits home with, is that it's dark and creepy for me because it is this lesson that you do actually need to learn. It's not totally fictional. It's not foreign or unbelievable. It's actually, it's something we all go through and we all do fall prey to, is the idea of living inside our own grief and not being able to come out of it.
Yeah, being consumed by it.
Yeah, and so that's what I think I love about, I think that's what makes a good horror film for me is
existential depth.
Not just jump scares, but actually like a really good story and the idea that there's a point to it, not just to cut people up and jump scare the audience, but actually to go, hey, I'm a witch character. At no point did I give you any other indication that I was good or that I would give you your heart's desire. I told you that there were ramifications if you didn't do this. I told you that this was a doll, and you didn't heed my warning. You thought that you would be different. You thought that you would break away from the mold and be a special case, but you never are. You're never a special case. Everybody goes through the same stuff.
Yeah, because I love, there's a couple of things he says that like, because for an 8-minute short, this film has a lot of, like you said, depth to it that otherwise a lot of feature film horrors don't. And one of the things that he says that I think are very poignant for that is when there's 2 times when he asks about the wife and the son at the beginning when they're getting the doll, and the doll maker says, no one ever wants their money back. You know, and
because they've all gone crazy and forgot that they ordered the doll maker.
Yeah, so that's like the double entendre for like what that it means. And I was like, that's so clever. I love it.
It's really dark. What I also want to point out again is that this whole story, this amazing story, this creepy twist, you don't need a long time to tell it.
8 minutes, that's it.
It can be done. It can be done in a short amount of time. You don't need all of this extra exposition. It can be implied. You don't need to spoon feed your audience. You don't need all of those filler scenes. Like, if it's done well, it's done well. And you don't need an hour and 50 minutes to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, this would never need or should be a feature film. It's perfect for the length it is. And like you said, like, I think the merits of great storytellers and filmmakers are the ones who can tell an interesting and captivating and depth with their story in the confines of like the short film kind of space. Yeah. So I feel like I feel like
if you can't tell it, if you can't tell it in a short film, example like you've got an elevator pitch, that's what you have to tell a story.
Yeah.
If you couldn't break it down into a short film, you probably shouldn't be doing it because there's already too much in it. I was really able to see that when I was in my final trimester at uni at JMC, because for film students, particularly at JMC, we have to complete a short film. So we go through the whole process of pre-production, pitching the idea, picking the idea, creating our crew, blah, 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 blah. And then we sit in our editing classes and we watch the cuts and we give feedback. Yeah. And one of the guys in my class, his short, because he was the writer, he was also the director.
Which one is it? Is this Reed or is it or?
No. I'm not giving names. I don't want. But no, also that was mine. No, that one was mine.
Okay, right.
There was another one. It was really beautifully shot. It was a good concept, but he was very precious about all of the pieces that needed to be there.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And so there was a really long scene that actually had no words, and it was just a man running across the screen.
Yep.
But we'd already seen him running to point B in the first place. I was like, we don't need to see him run from point B to point A. Like, you actually can cut that. Because it was like 2 extra minutes of film that didn't need to be there. We were just watching this man run. And so that's what actually really let him down, was because he couldn't take the feedback and cut it and be really like stingent on, no, I don't need this. My story can be told with less. That's something I think I am not bad at, but overly good at it in a bad way. Like, I'm not precious about much stuff. So I'll be like, no, we don't really need that. And then come to maybe final edit or story, people are like, I don't really understand how you got to this point. And I'm like, Oh, okay. Because you've seen that in my writing and stuff. Is like I'll write something, and particularly Eden, the script that I'm in the middle of, and you're like, I don't really understand why this character is saying this or doing this. Like you might, but as an audience member, I don't really understand why. And I'm like, okay. Because I had all of this extra exposition in it, and I was like, no, it's too much. So I'm actually really good at cutting stuff, but probably to my detriment.
No, you are, because when it comes to editing this is another tangent bit very quickly, but like because I edit the podcast, I send Steph the cut, and then she listens to it, and she's like, cut out this 10 minutes, cut out this 5 minutes. I don't care. We don't need it. Get rid of it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but it's just more that like you think certain things are important, but I am able to. And because you're editing it as well, you're kind of like, I've listened to it so many times, I don't know what's important. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So this is my edit. Steph listened to it, and then I'll come to it and be like, actually, this tangent, while fun, isn't necessarily adds time.
Like this
at this point, we can cut it because this next piece is a tangent, or it doesn't really make sense, or maybe even it's just like maybe it can come later. Like maybe if we cut that and put it at the end, it'll.
So do you think
it'll wrap everything up?
Do you think this tangent is going to get cut? This very tangent we're having now.
It probably will. And now this last one is Adrian's final pick, and it's actually really interesting. It was something.
It's great.
Like I've seen something like it before, but it's a very niche style.
That music seems kind of ominous, don't it?
Ominous. What's that mean?
You know, like something bad's about to happen, like a needless gunfight.
The stage was set for an awesome ballet of death. Blood would be spilled, but who would be the first?
Wait a second, ballet of death? What the hell?
Okay, so it's a Western comedy. It's directed by career editor and producer Eric Kizak, whose most notable credits are he's produced The Good Place, Veep. He also kind of produced and edited Role Models and edited A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas, which is those are all pretty good projects he's worked on. So, and I think The Good Place kind of tests to like the vibe that this has, and I can understand kind of like the influence that
actually now that you say
the
that,
gunfighter kind of had it in a good place. Anyway, so it's a hilarious twist on the classic Western tropes, and it centers around a group of townsfolk who occupy a saloon, and they are able to break the fourth wall and actually hear and talk to the narrator of the film. So the narration itself is actually done by Nick Offerman, who's his voice and fits perfect for what this is. Like I really did like the fact that he voiced it, and I noted here it came across like an audiobook of like a Wilbur Smith novel. Like the like if you've ever
I don't know
so
who that
Wilbur
is.
Smith, he's a very famous Western kind of cowboy author, a writer. And so a lot of the narration and scripts and
Oh no, I do know who that is. Sorry, I totally forgot that.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, no, sorry. I was just going to say a lot of the script and narration that Nick Offerman gives, the descriptions and whatnot, it feels very much like a Wilbur Smith novel. And I was like, I think if it's intentional, that's really cool. If not, it's just something I picked up. But I also want to note, it did, like, initially, without knowing anything about this, it felt like it was like a college humor or even like a Funny or Die skit. Like, it kind of had that
yes,
look to
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And no, it's lovely. I think it's really good. Like, weirdly enough, it's something, the concept is something I never thought to have made before for a Western. Like, it seems like this would have been something that people would have done heaps of times, but this is the first time I've ever seen anything like it. But
which is interesting because, like I said, I'd already seen something similar to it.
Okay, yeah.
With did you end up seeing that link that I sent you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so Skylar Aston and Anna Camp did another similar thing called The Oven, where the radio is the narrator.
Cool.
And they're in a car together,
Awesome.
and they are all of the things that they think in the background, similar, like the stuff that you would read in a book outside of the dialogue, you hear over the radio. So I had seen something similar to this before, but not as a Western.
Yeah, okay.
Which was much cooler because there was actually, at least with The Oven, it came from the radio. Like there was somewhere that they could look and that somewhere it was coming from.
Right.
Whereas with this one, like it is actually just like this ominous
a disembodied voice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird.
So
it's cool though.
So essentially, like, it starts with like the gunfighter, the titular character. He enters a saloon to the
just a question:
Oh.
is he an out of towner or is he from town?
No. So he's an out of towner because
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, yeah.
There's a line where Nick Offerman says like he's come from somewhere and it's made him tired or something.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So basically, he enters the saloon and immediately the narration starts. Like, it's narrating him walking in. And it ends up with everyone else around the saloon immediately, like, they pick up on the fact that they can hear something, and they're not kind of sure what's going on. They're all just a bit disconcerted. And it's equally hilarious and entertaining to watch like these saloon patrons kind of freak out and not quite understand what the hell's going on, because the narrator like is able to like reveal their inner thoughts, like as you would a POV in a book, for what the person's thinking. So throughout the entire short, it's everyone's different like thoughts and emotions and secrets are being kind of like brought out for the narration, and it kind of makes for a really interesting dynamic. And especially,
and he doesn't have a particular point of view either. Like, if you're reading a book, often it's first person and it's the inner thoughts of one particular person, whereas it's actually like everyone's.
Yeah. It's basically like the group. And the great thing about this is that all the thoughts and secrets revealed are very personal and somewhat humiliating.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite parts is the father of the two boys, he's like Mrs. Whatever. He's like, that's disgusting, and then the narrator starts to speak, and he's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to retract that because I get what's happening. I get what's happening here. We don't need to. You don't need to. And then it's just like his dirty secrets, and you're like, at every point he's like, I acknowledge what's happening. I acknowledge what you're doing. I don't want to. We don't need to discuss this.
Because that's one thing I wanted to really mention is that there's the underlying idea that everyone is in some way connected by their secrets like brought to light. Like everyone is has something to do with someone else, and I really did like that.
Yeah, which is a common trope, I think. I've not seen a lot of westerns, but from what I have seen and what I know of western as a genre, like that's usually the case.
It's usually the case, yeah. So I think this is them like kind of poking fun at that. I really like it, and one of the best things about this is so we've both you know as well that the narrator actually has some malice intent with what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
So
he's telling a tragedy, and he will get his tragic ending.
So basically, the narrator is purposely poking all these saloon people with revealing their secrets and all that stuff because he wants what he calls a ballet of death. Like, he wants a gunfight to happen. And
such a good set of words.
An awesome ballet of death. And the saloon patrons, like, they click onto this pretty quickly that, oh shit, he wants us to kill each other. And they try, like, the gunfighter gives this really good speech about, like, not being ashamed of who you are and accepting all this stuff, and kind of like, hey, we should, take our faults and we should make them, whatever. And then basically it's all.
Which is interesting because in westerns, everyone is so quick to like shoot each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, like, you want to live.
Yeah.
You want a reason to live, and whether the gunfighter believes what he's saying or not, like, he knows that.
Oh yeah, because
this is realistically the only way he's gonna get out alive is if he can convince the whole group of people, because everybody's got a gun pointed at someone.
Yeah. Because I think you're right, because that's the very fact is the narrator counts on the fact that everyone's so quick to draw and shoot that he could just say one or two things and everyone starts fighting. But that's not the case. And it basically, he reveals a trump card eventually that forces a shootout to happen. And pretty much everyone dies except Sally the Itchy Whore. She's the only character to live.
She's also the only girl.
Yeah. And so I've noted here something that's relevant to an episode we've done before. Actually, our very first episode, I think, was Buster Scruggs, Bella to Buster Scruggs.
Yes.
And I've noted here that I got a lot of vibes of, like, Buster Scruggs, like, kind of from this. From
the first piece.
Yeah. So, like,
it reminds me a lot of the first piece.
Yeah. The opening tale for that movie. This is
actual Buster.
Yeah, the gunfighter reminds me a lot of that, and I think it's ultimately down to, like, the narrative purpose is the inevitability of death. And I think that's why this was like, this would have very, very much felt at home if it was a part of that movie and those anthology tales. So yeah, this is really good. And I'd love to see if these guys make kind of more really niche and unique kind of shorts to do with this type of stuff. Like you said, like,
what channel was that from?
It didn't have a channel. It was just posted by the creator. It didn't have a channel. And the thing is, like, it's funny. It's funny, but it's not like, you know, you're slapping your knees, laughing hysterically, but it's just a really good time, and you're consistently entertained with, like, how everything unfolds.
Yes,
and
I agree.
so no, I really do like it. And yeah, so I was like iffy about this because I wanted to talk about something else that I thought was a bit more, you know, kind of like artsy and interesting.
Very artsy.
But this was like, no, this is more kind of like approachable for like general people. And
But I really enjoyed the gunfighter. I'm not really a Western person.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see the plot of the storyline unfold literally on screen in front of me as the narrator was speaking it.
I would definitely recommend it. I recommend all these, actually. All these, we picked them for a reason.
These were all really good.
Really good.
Yes, yeah. Actually, you know what? It was a really fun day for me to go through so many shorts.
Yeah, I watched heaps. No, so like I don't think we have anything much more to say, but
no, not about those ones. I don't think they're all really good. I'm really pleased with us. Yay us! We had a fun time doing that. And they're really, I love that they're all different.
Yeah,
I like that we picked different
that's kind of good. We went for that. We went for a diverse range of, you know, an animated kind of like heartwarming story, a nice horror, science fiction, and then you had like a nice kind of comedy to end it out with. So there's a good bunch.
It was good. Well, Adrian, what have you seen this week? What's at your box office this week? Actually, no, that sounds really dirty. We're going to move on to what's at the box office. Adrian, what have you been watching?
I'm keeping it in. That's not going anywhere. So what I've been watching, something that you said, I remember when we did our No One's Ever Going to Hear It, our first Captain Marvel recording, you mentioned how you, in anticipation for you going to Canada, you were going to start watching Stargate because, you know, those were filmed and done over there.
Yes, which I still haven't done. But yes,
I started because Stan actually has all this series on their platform, and they recently just put on.
Oh, that's right, they do too.
They put on Stargate Universe, which is like the newest out of those series.
SGU.
Yes, so much SNU in it. It's really good. I definitely like feel it got an undeserved rap at the time. It only lasted 2 seasons. It got cancelled pretty quickly because people just didn't like. Like it was, if you've never seen it, but it's very much like Battlestar Galactica. That very,
I haven't.
very like a realistic take on a science fiction universe where everyone hates each other. Everyone's very aggressive. No one gets along. Everyone's just sad because it's very like the struggles of life, like a really realistic take on that. Where other Stargate was a bit more, we're heroes and we're fighting the bad guys and, you know, we always win. And so I think, because it's about 10 years old now, like Universe came out in 2009. So it'd been...
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no new Stargate, is there?
No.
They're all...
there's a web series that came out last year.
That doesn't count.
No. No. But yeah, no, as being a bit older now, watching Universe, I think it is my favourite series out of Stargate. Because I'm almost finished season 1 and I just love it. I love it so much, and I really wish that we got some more of this aspect of that universe that otherwise we hadn't seen before. So
maybe you'll grow up and one day you'll write it.
That'd be good. I'd love to do that. And what I want to see is Game of Thrones, the premiere that came out the other day.
Oh, of course you do.
Whoa, yeah. It hasn't.
Sorry, I actually really don't like Game of Thrones, but that's fine.
You and no other people in the world. No, Game of Thrones is amazing, and I'm so upset that I haven't seen it, and I pretty much had to stay off the internet because everyone's talking about it. Even researching news for this podcast, everything was just all was all Game of Thrones stuff. And because
I had that problem with Jane the Virgin, the latest episode. of Jane the Virgin. Yeah. I got so many spoilers, and I wasn't even I didn't even think there were going to be any, and then there were.
Because I don't have Foxtel anymore, so I can't watch Game of Thrones legally. So I'm just gonna wait until it comes on DVD or something, or go to someone's house who has Foxtel. Yeah. So
I'd probably you just find someone who's got Foxtel and borrow their login.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I'm really keen to that, and I love Game of Thrones. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, Steph, what's your at the box office? Buddy, buckle
up.
Let's start with this. Go for it. Rip it to shreds, Steph.
Normally I'm really nice when it comes to the stuff that I've seen because I only watch things that I like, and I'm only going to tell you about things that I like. Go for the gut. But I saw Hellboy in the cinema. I loved the first two Hellboys.
Ron Perlman is great.
With Selma Blair. Loved them. So I was very excited to see Hellboy 2019. I was like, yes, another one. It's going to be great. I was so bored. I was yawning the entire time.
Oh, no.
My friend had bought my ticket, and so I stuck it out with her. By the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm slightly more energetic now. But I was actually going to walk out of the cinema. I was
what? Is that bad?
bored.
That bad?
Yeah, it was actually really horrible. I was tired of the stuff that was on the screen. They didn't have, like, their Hellboy was much gruffer in looks, and I actually found my eyes started to hurt because I was trying to look at his face, but they put his forehead. They made his like eyebrows, the forehead too far down, and you couldn't see his eyes.
Yeah, okay.
And I actually gave myself a headache because I somehow kept trying to like look under his forehead to see his eyes, because you just couldn't see them. And so that was really frustrating, and I hated it. I didn't really like Mila
Jovovich.
I don't know. Jovovich. Yeah. I didn't like her as the evil person. She just didn't really do a very good job.
She hasn't done any good acting in a very long time.
I think one of the reasons I loved the original Hellboys is because of Selma Blair's character, obviously, because it's the only person I know by name.
Not even Ron Perlman? What? Come on.
I knew the man. I just couldn't remember his name. But their love story was actually really entertaining for me to watch, and I liked it a lot. Just
how do you feel about?
I just was so mad.
The fact that this was R-rated, because I haven't seen it. So how did it being R-rated?
Oh no, it definitely should have been R-rated because, and I think that's probably the reason I was bored, is because it focused so much on like seeing the axe split through someone's skull.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And the ugly graphicness of it.
Yeah.
That's why it was R18. It's not that it was psychological.
It's gory.
It was just very, very gory and very openly gory, not suggestively gory. So I was like, I don't need this. This is wasting so much storyline, which is fine because there was no storyline. So that's what I saw this week. So don't see it. I don't recommend it. I'm actually really upset by the whole thing.
I think the reason why it did flop is because you don't know this, but it did have a lot of production woes, and part and parcel. That's kind of why it ended up being really shit. Is because it kind of was just a mess, and they threw it together, and the director was fired, the producers took over.
You know what? It was probably, it never should have got to production. Like it had so much more work in pre-production that should have happened that it just. I actually don't have anything written down in my 2C because of my entire list of things. Oh, actually, Macbeth. That Macbeth one that you were talking about. With
Michael Fassbender.
I want to see that.
Yeah, watch it. It's really good. It's beautiful. It's like one of the best shot films I've ever seen. It's great.
Guess what, guys? Next week we have a guest coming.
One that we've been talking about for a while. but it's happening.
Have we? Oh, can we say his name, or should we wait until we know for sure that we can get him? Like he might have to reschedule again.
No, we can say his name. It's fine.
So, guys, next week we have a special guest. At least at this point, we have a special guest coming. Benjamin Donnelly. So he has worked on stuff like Thor Ragnarok and Aquaman, and so on sets he does conceptual art and industrial design. So he works in the actual theoretical building of the spaceships and figuring out how they would practically work in order to
he's done set design. I think I don't know if I can say what the last film he just finished work on, but he will talk about it in the episode, but he actually led his own department with some set design for that film.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so no, he's I call him Hollywood Ben now because he's kind of he's taken off. He's doing really good. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Godzilla versus King Kong?
Oh yeah, that's
Godzilla
it.
versus Kong. Sorry, it's on IMDb.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so he's doing that.
It's free knowledge.
That's the film he just finished working on a couple months ago.
Yeah, so that'll be really exciting to have him on and have a chat with him about stuff that's happening in the film world, but also stuff that he's doing personally and professionally. So stay tuned, and we'll have that. If not next week, eventually we will have it.
Later today or later in life.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for our shorts episode. And if you are listening to this before April 20th, do go check out the Kickstarter campaign for A Tale Told by Idiots, a modern retelling of Macbeth. But yeah, so thanks for joining us this week, and we will catch you next time.
Can you quickly sing your tune again, like, as a sign-off?
Oh,
One quick.
delving into the silver screen, Steph and Adrian, oh what a team.
Yay! Thanks everyone, we'll talk to you next time.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.